Good then? Okay. Mic's on? Okay. All right, everybody. Get everybody's attention. Excellent. Listen to how well that room quiets right down. Well, so I'm Jonathan Butler. I'm the president and CEO of 1Berkshire, and I'd like to first off just thank all of you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. This is a tremendous group of people here today. For us, this is our first in-person event now in basically 3 years, since really the early part of 2020. We've done many things virtually, but this is the first big in-person one. So just to have this group of people with us, it means the world to us. It's just it's a good feeling for us as an organization that specializes in and takes a lot of pride in bringing people together. So thank you all. Program today, we are going to have hopefully this goes pretty smoothly, about 30 or 40 minutes. We have our business meeting and then some great updates about things happening in the region. And then we'll filter you all out. There's a bar upstairs and a bar downstairs, and you're welcome to walk around the building, socialize, enjoy the Berkshire Innovation Center now that it is open and available, and we can make use of it. And then we'll just jump right in. So first thing I'd like to do is thank our sponsors. This event we were able to do for free rather than a ticketed event. We feel our annual meeting should be an event that we can invite everybody to come and enjoy themselves at. So we want to thank our sponsors for that, starting with General Dynamics Mission Systems. General Dynamics has been a stalwart supporter of 1Berkshire for as long as I've been around, and probably long before. The leadership at General Dynamics and the vice chair of our board, a senior manager with General Dynamics, Brenda Burdick, have just been so great to work with. You'll hear a little bit more from someone from GD, Stan Cordana, in just a few moments, but I'd like to just ask for a round of applause for our presenting sponsor. Moving along to our event underwriters, two critical partners of ours in the Berkshires. Our host today, the Berkshire Innovation Center. We thank the crew here for being great to work with and putting this program together with us. And Berkshire Community College, who a day doesn't pass when there isn't a 1Berkshire call on my calendar that doesn't interact with 1Berkshire Community College in some way. So thank you to both of our event underwriters as well. And if you'll just hang with me, I have a few more sponsors I want to call out. Our media sponsor, Business West, we've been doing a lot of work with in the Valley. And our event supporters, Adams Community Bank, Classical Tents, and Tricia McCormack Photography. And then you'll see some neat specific sponsorship acknowledgements when you get out and about for the reception. Berkshire Bank is our social media sponsor. Hillcrest Educational Foundation as our decor sponsor. Greylock Federal Credit Union as our bar sponsor, and Thistle and Thorn as our door prize sponsor. There's also a really cool 1B piece that was put together by Thistle and Thorn, and it's actually our door prize today. So if you haven't put a business card on that, you can, and you can take that home with you if you wish, but really exciting stuff. And right now, what I'd like to do is go back to, once again, just acknowledging General Dynamics as our presenting sponsor. General Dynamics is not only the second largest employer in the Berkshires, and quite frankly, one of the most exciting things happening in our region for the last 10 years, but also played a big role in this building getting open, plays a big role in our organization being able to do the things that we do, and also just generally is great to work with. So Stan Cordana is the vice president of the surface ship program business at General Dynamics Mission Systems. Stan's responsible for all surface ship business activity, including design, development, installation, test certification, and post-delivery support of U.S. Navy shipboard systems. In Stan's role, he oversees employees across the country. Stan's a lifelong resident of Berkshire County. He's a fellow Hoosick Hurricane, graduate of Hoosick Valley, along with myself. He also attended Berkshire Community College before transferring to RIT, where he received his Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering. So I'd like to welcome Stan Cordana up front.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, good afternoon, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really thrilled to be here at the Berkshire Innovation Center. It's such a great opportunity to see everyone back and offer some opening remarks on behalf of General Dynamics. It's been a while since we've been able to do these face to face. I think a number of us Probably think back to 2019, we left our workspaces. We went home and created in-home, I'll say, offices. We relied on Zoom and MS Teams to be our communication portals. And I think we learned terms like, I think you're on mute, I can't get my camera to work, as we navigated our days. And now it's nice to finally get back to some more of these face-to-face communications, to be able to connect with our employees, our community, our government officials, and quite frankly, all the opportunities that Berkshires have to offer. As a defense contractor, General Dynamics continues to support the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force by delivering the most advanced capability for our surface ships, strategic triad, and undersea programs. We have been consistently growing in Pittsfield for more than 2 decades, and I'm proud to say that have an active role in local community and in support of the Berkshires. Economic multipliers indicate that for every employee that we employ in Pittsfield, it equates to 3.8 jobs across Berkshire County. Pretty amazing statistics. We've been part of 1Berkshire and previously the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce for decades through business leaders like Beth Mitchell and Brenda Burdick. In fact, as part of the annual meeting today, Brenda will continue to serve on the executive board of directors for 1Berkshire for another 3 years. Congratulations to Brenda, and to 1Berkshire, you have one of our finest, so thank you. We continue to be involved in 1Berkshire because they organize or an organization that works to promote economic development in the Berkshires. They take this role very seriously, and General Dynamics and our community benefit from these efforts. The great work that you all do helps us bring in and hire and keep the greatest talent across the country and provide these great capabilities to our nation. So thanks. Additionally, it's fitting today to have an event that taking place here at the Berkshire Innovation Center. Ben Sosny and his team have done a great job ensuring that the BIC offerings are in line with innovation that the companies across the Berkshires need, from life sciences to space to defense. General Dynamics has been a supporter of the Berkshire Innovation Center since it was just a concept, and it's so rewarding to work with them on manufacturing and engineering innovations. As a matter of fact, I can still remember that day, that cold, rainy day when we did the groundbreaking ceremony here. Quite a facility that was built here. So Ben, thank you for all your hard effort. Having the opportunity to work with Ben and his team, I've seen the great work that happens here. I'd like to thank you all again for being here today, and thank you for what you do for the Berkshires, a place that I'm truly proud to call home. I wish you all a happy holiday for you and your families, and a happy and healthy new year. Thank you.
I'm kind of both your MC today and giving a big part of the presentation on the report of 1Berkshire work, so hang with me. My next task, though, is actually to introduce a very important person to our organization. Danielle Gonzalez is the chair of the 1Berkshire Alliance Board of Directors. Danielle is an accomplished, innovative human resources professional with 20 years of comprehensive operations experience. In 2009, Danielle joined the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and moved to the 1Berkshire Strategic Alliance Board of Directors after our merger in 2016, where she served as vice chair for 2 years before becoming our chair for the past 2 years. On a more personal note, this is actually Danielle's last annual meeting as our chair. She'll be handing that off later in this program. But I just wanted to acknowledge what a tremendous professional Danielle has been to work with, and just person to work with for the last couple of years. Danielle is very passionate about the work that she believes in. She is very diplomatic in her role, both at Williams College and also with 1Berkshire, helping us navigate sometimes challenging terrain. And above all that, she's just a great person to deal with at 9 o'clock in the morning, sometimes on Zoom calls or beyond. So we really owe Danielle a debt of gratitude for her work. I'm going to invite her up to lead us in our business meeting, but want to just give her a round of applause for her service.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's pleasure's all mine on this side of the table. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It really is an absolute pleasure to see folks in real life. And I just keep hugging people. It's what I do. So sorry if that's still not a COVID norm yet, but it's exciting to see you all in person. We have gathered here today to talk about some of the year's accomplishments and preview some priorities going forward. And I know we have some formal business to take care of, but I really just came for the party. This is what I keep saying to the board upon my exit. Joining and accepting the role as chair 2 years ago, I never really thought that it would be marked by a global pandemic and have all of our events be virtual happenings. So it's just something I've been giving them a little bit of a hard time, like this is my exit party. Thank you all for coming. While I joke about the disruption to my social calendar, in all seriousness, I think that convening folks in our community, fostering connections is one of the things that 1Berkshire does best. And I think, Ben, you might have coined the term, the connective tissue in describing the work of 1Berkshire. We've all given you credit at least now for this. And it really is true. It's what 1Berkshire is to so many community partners. Over the past year and a half, that list of collaborators has grown tremendously, and you've helped empower other organizations through partner funding and great experience that you share. That deep experience, administrative support, was able to secure outstanding amounts of ARPA funding, which were actually very accessible then to other organizations that might not have been as well positioned to secure funding on their own. So thank you for helping so many others in the county. Funny that you call me diplomatic. I would say that that's a key part of your persona, Jonathan, and many of you at 1Berkshire, that like diplomats, you're always out there advocating and promoting the county's interests, whether that's government relations, economic development, culture, tourism, workforce. You're looking out for all those issues for the county. Launching the housing report this past year is certainly a key accomplishment, and it was a very intersectional initiative that helped raise awareness and keep the spotlight on this statewide challenge that everyone is aware of. And while state resources and programs might be lagging, I think it shows the region's collaborative efforts to really address our own needs, establish priorities, build those partnerships, and be much more prepared to respond quickly when resources do become available. So congrats on that. Also, 1Berkshire remains quite central to enhancing our visitor economy, employing new digital strategies that you have been so creative with, really helps celebrate all the things that attract visitors to our region, from the range of historical and cultural and iconic landmarks to retail, food, events, all of those things, and clearly the natural beauty of our environment. All the things that we know make it a distinctive place to live, but also worthy of experiencing as a visitor. Lindsay will share a little bit of good news and data, but the punchline, I'm going to steal a little bit. We've bounced back to pre-pandemic levels, which is a really exciting and monumental thing in a couple quick years. As I end my time as chair, I do want to leave you with sort of my observations, and that's really a sense of confidence in the 1Berkshire team. The organization is really well positioned, I think, to continue to meet our community's evolving needs and challenges. They are highly engaged, super dedicated, so often behind the scenes, employing shuttle diplomacy, making connections, working on funding, providing resources, and just responding to all of our member needs, really helping others achieve their goals. So it's not a group of folks that is looking for accolades. In fact, they're very graciously comfortable behind the scenes. So this was my opportunity to really highlight them and really want to take the opportunity to celebrate Jonathan, a very small but mighty team of 1Berkshire. As Jonathan mentioned, I'm really excited to pass the baton to a committed and respected community leader. We will shortly be voting on a new slate of officers, and I'm thrilled that Lori Kiley has agreed to take on that role as chair. Lori has been stalwart as a supporter of 1Berkshire. Prior to that, we were on the Chamber Board of Directors for more than a decade. And while we continue to really thoughtfully seek all forms of embodied diversity for our board of directors, we're really fortunate to have two very strong and respected women leaders in our chair and vice chair roles. So excited to continue to work with you all. 2 years ago, while it was virtual, I did end my remarks with a call to action for folks to get involved and make this a place where we could all live, work, play, and thrive. So thank you to all of you who have done just that, who are here today, who make it a stronger community. Thank you to my board colleagues for your time and energy and patience. Thank you again to the 1Berkshire team, and thank you all for your continued partnership and your investment in 1Berkshire. So thank you. So now at this time, I'd like to call the 2022 annual business meeting of the 1Berkshire Strategic Alliance Board to order. At the end of the meeting, we will be asking for a vote from you as the membership on our proposed new directors, renewing directors, and slate of officers. All right. So I think we're going to start with, on behalf of the nominating committee and the entire One Berkshire Alliance Board of Directors, I'd like to take a moment to provide a special note of thank you to the following outgoing board members. Many are with us today. Pat Bergowitz of Honest Specialty Papers, Jerry Burke of Hillcrest Educational Centers, Bill Coleman of Heirloom Jewelry, Don Dubendorf of Dubendorf Law, Michelle Lopez at Berkshire Immigrant Center, and Dan Zimmer at Wheatley. Thank you all. Now we're going to turn to renewing directors. It is recommended that the following incumbent directors be renewed for an additional term of 3 years. Brenda Burdick, General Dynamic Mission Systems, Jeff Cook at Cohen, Kinney, Valicente, and Cook, Tyler Fairbank, the Fairbank Group, Lori Kiley at Berkshire Bank, Pat Lockridge at Classical Tents and Party Goods, Peter Stasiowski at Interprint, Richard Pollard at Guardian Life Insurance, and Anastasia Stanmeyer at Berkshire Magazine. Now we will turn to new directors. It is the recommendation that the following new directors be approved by the membership for a term of 3 years. Kristen Vangenhoven at Wham Theater, Sean Kusan at Hillcrest Educational Centers, Mary Skarupa at Onyx Specialty Papers. And now we will turn to our slate of officers. It is recommended that the following officers be appointed for a term of 2 years. Chair, Lori Gazillo Kiley at Berkshire Bank, President Jonathan Butler at 1Berkshire, Vice Chair Brenda Burdick, General Dynamic Mission Systems, Treasurer Peter Stasiowski, Interprint, Clerk Jeff Cook at Cohen, Kenny, Valicente, and Cook. So now we will call for a vote. Do I have a motion to approve the new directors, renewal of directors, and slate of officers as presented? Great. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Love the silence. Thank you. By majority vote, the motion passes. At this time, I will officially close the annual business meeting of the One Berkshire Strategic Alliance. Speedy business. Thank you. Now onto the fun. It is my pleasure to introduce the new chair of the board of directors, Lori Gazillo Kiley. Lori is the Berkshire County Regional President for Berkshire Bank, as well as the director of the Berkshire Bank Foundation. In this role, she serves as Berkshire Bank's leader in the county to elevate brand awareness and expand customer relations. In her role as the foundation director, she oversees the organization's community investment initiatives, including foundation grants, volunteer programs, employee giving, and scholarship programs. She provides strategic direction for the foundation's philanthropic investments and community engagement activities throughout the Berkshires. Before Berkshire Bank, Lori also served in similar roles at Legacy Bank, where she oversaw public relations and marketing, as well as worked with their foundation. In addition to serving on the One Berkshire Alliance Board, she serves on the One Berkshire Foundation Board and the Brain Center Board, and is a trustee at Berkshire Community College. Lori holds a bachelor's degree from Keene State College and a master's of educational administration from Mass College of Liberal Arts. Please join me in welcoming our new chair, Lori Kiley.
Thank you, Danielle. As Danielle mentioned, I'm Lori Kiley, for those of you who don't know me. I'm extremely honored to be taking on the role of the chair of the One Berkshire Board of Directors. I first want to sincerely thank Danielle again for her leadership over the past 2 years, which we know has been a challenging few years. Her unwavering guidance during these uncertain times has helped One Berkshire adapt and pivot to the evolving needs of our community, a similar theme in our remarks, and has resulted in an organization that's really well positioned to prosper into the future as a strong regional economic development organization and regional tourism council for Berkshire County. So please join me in recognizing Danielle one more time. We have been through a challenging time, but I do think the future is bright. There are a lot of great things happening in Berkshire County. There's been a lot of support from a lot of variety of different resources coming to help lift our community. And as we always do, we're coming together to drive forward into a successful future. I've been part of this organization since 1997. I know I don't look that old, but in thinking about saying a few words today, I realized how long I've been associated with 1Berkshire and its predecessor, the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce. I was working at MCLA at the time, and I proactively sought out participation with the Berkshire Chamber because I wanted to be part of helping to make our community a better place. I started volunteering and then serving on a committee and then the board. And I was actually in the very first class of the Berkshire Leadership Program in 1997, along with a few others, Tyler Fairbank and Smitty Picatelli. I don't know if he's here, but it's amazing to see how that program and the organization has developed over the years. Berkshire Bank has been a strong supporter of the organization for decades. Our former CEO, Mike Daly, and several other community leaders were instrumental in helping to make 1Berkshire a reality. They had the vision to create this entity, which is really unique from other communities, to bring together the Economic Development Organization, Tourism Council, the Chamber, and what was once called Berkshire Creative under one umbrella to work toward a common goal of positioning Berkshire County to be the place of choice to visit, live, work, start a business, and raise a family. And it really has become just that under Jonathan's leadership. Of course, we do have our challenges, as do all communities, but what I love about this county and 1Berkshire is that when we are faced with challenges, we work together to find solutions. The pandemic is a great example. I was amazed to see how many people and organizations really stepped up to help each other as we were all facing an uncertain future about our health, our family's health, our businesses, our workplaces, and frankly, our livelihoods. We became a role model for other communities as to how to work together and quickly and find solutions to big problems. We immediately established the vaccination centers in 3 regions of our county very quickly. I think we received one of the first shipments of the vaccine thanks to the support of the organization that's hosting us today, because the Berkshire Innovation Center happened to have a freezer with sub-zero temperatures. So that's what I call teamwork. During the height of the pandemic, 1Berkshire was able to quickly organize really important Zoom meetings to address pressing questions and issues. And I remember not even knowing what day of the week it was, but I made sure to attend these because I was able to hear from community leaders, healthcare leaders, legislators who were answering questions and providing guidance that we could then share with others. Those sessions were attended by hundreds, as I recalled. 1Berkshire stepped up to address the need, and that's what they do all the time. Another example, as Danielle mentioned, is the housing challenge we're facing. 1Berkshire established and coordinated a collaborative effort to address the issue, which resulted in steps we can take to move toward a solution. While it's not something we can solve overnight, 1Berkshire took the lead to help us make progress and to make sure that we have affordable, accessible housing for all, which is crucial to our businesses who so desperately need employees to continue to be successful. That's another challenge we're facing, and I have no doubt that 1Berkshire is on the forefront of solving for that. We're standing in another success story, as was mentioned earlier. As you all know, this building opened just before the pandemic began, and many of us were here for the grand opening with Governor Baker. This room was filled with people, as it is today, and full of anticipation of what it could become. And after years of work on the part of many, 1Berkshire was central to that. To build this, as soon as it opened, it was forced to close. But look at it today, vibrant as ever and filled with just the type of businesses and educational programs that was envisioned. I think it's a great comparison for where we've been and where we're going. And it's playing a key role in putting Berkshire County on the map for developing products of the future. The visitor economy is also key to our future success, and 1Berkshire has led the charge in promoting the Berkshires as a wonderful place to visit for culture, hiking, skiing, beautiful places to stay. And oh, by the way, why not move here when you're here? I'm amazed at the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes to send that message to people all over New England and New York, and it really does resonate. People are coming here. I'm looking forward to taking on this new challenge of chairing the 1Berkshire board. Berkshire County is very important to Berkshire Bank. While we have expanded outside of the county, this is our operational hub and our home. It's my home, and I look forward to dedicating my experience to helping to launch 1Berkshire into its next chapter. I'm excited about the future of Berkshire County. I think we have a lot of opportunity to grow this region into a destination for all who want to have a wonderful quality of life as well as a successful career. And then they can invite their friends once they're here. I would like to thank 1Berkshire for the opportunity. I look forward to working more closely with Jonathan, who has been a fantastic leader, and the staff, which has been so dedicated and hardworking, and the entire board of directors, which is a great group of experienced community leaders working to help Berkshire County be the place to live, work, and play. Thank you. I think I'm gonna pray with you.
Actually, my pages are right here. Sorry. Thank you for that, Lori. And for the kind remarks about things going on in the region and the work that our team does. I did want to say, in addition to our excitement that Lori's becoming chair, back in 2016, when we merged the Visitors Bureau and the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce and Berkshire Creative, we actually, Lori was set to be the incoming chair for the chamber at the time. Instead, she became treasurer of 1Berkshire. So today, everything comes full circle. She becomes the chair of 1Berkshire, an even bigger role. And it's been great working with you for the past decade, and we really are looking forward to having you be our leader and our partner. Just before I move into kind of the report to the membership, which Ben and Lindsay are going to join me in, I did want to make a couple of other acknowledgements. We do have a number of 1Berkshire board members in the room here today. If you could all just stand up and do this and give you a round of applause. We appreciate the time that all of you commit to this organization. And I think it'd be remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge the impact of our departures we have from the board this year. Dan Zimmer and Michelle Lopez brought tremendous youthful energy to our board for several years, and both actually moved on to other opportunities, relocating out of the area. So we're sad to see them go. And we have 4 senior board members. I say senior because they've served for so long. Phil Coleman, Pat Begerwicks, Don Dubendorf are the first chair of 1Berkshire, and Jerry Burke, who chaired everything at one point or another. Those 4, I can say without hesitation, have been absolutely critical voices in everything that we've been able to accomplish over the last decade. And we would not be in this room as an organization without those 4 individuals. So special acknowledgement just for the work that that group did. So each year we do like to take the opportunity to report out to membership about what we've accomplished, because we're doing stuff and we should be reporting to our members what that is. You can't get it all in the newspaper. So if you can hang with us for a few more minutes, we're going to go into some detail on some things that we think are important for you to know. In a couple of moments, I'm going to ask Ben Lamb, our Director of Economic Development, and Lindsay Schmidt, our Senior Vice President of Tourism and Marketing, to come up and speak to their respective departments at 1Berkshire and some of the great work they're doing. But I'm going to start out with a few high-level things that I think are important. The first just being acknowledging the team that we have at 1Berkshire. Our team went all the way down to 7 employees at the most dire moments of the pandemic, when everybody was cutting staff and the nonprofit world had a hard time keeping budgets afloat. Fortunately for us, we had a great core team, and all 7 of those individuals are still with us today, which we're excited about. And we've been able to add some new faces to our team at 1Berkshire. I can't understate how valuable a group this is. Not only because they put up with me every day, but more importantly, because that's a group of people that you're looking at, those names up there, that come to work every day with legitimate, sincere passion for Berkshire County. Our team cares about Berkshire County. They come and interview for our team at 1Berkshire, and it isn't like they're giving a job interview trying to sell themselves. They just gush about how much they care about this place, and that's when we know we found the right people. So thank you to our team at 1Berkshire, and I'd like to just ask for a round of applause for this group. A little bit about financial performance. It's an annual meeting. It's important that we have some transparency on that front as a nonprofit organization with over 800 members. FY22 was a really good year for us. And it was a really good year in the context of where we came from. This organization in fiscal year 17, 18, and 19 had a lot of momentum. We were growing incrementally every year, adding new programs, services, capacity, able to do more work in the region. And then the pandemic came. That number that you see in the top of the screen, FY22 income, went down to about 55% of that in 2020. And 2021, fortunately, we were able to bounce back to an extent. But in 2022, our last fiscal cycle, we actually had the most successful income year that we've had as an organization to date. And that's the result of a number of different things and a variety of great partners, and the ability to work with the state and our other partners to procure funding opportunities to keep our work flowing. Just highlighting a few things. Membership and investors, which are those first 2 items you'll see there. Members are our members, over 800 member businesses, and our investors are some of the larger organizations in the Berkshires that make an additional contribution to our organization, so we can do things like have an economic development team and launch an initiative like the Berkshire Blueprint. That's continued to grow. We've seen those numbers increase substantially over pre-pandemic, and we're really enthusiastic about that for the future. Our events numbers remain lower because this is the first event we've done in person in 3 years. So we were able to do the fall foliage parade and some other smaller things, but we're looking for that number to change in the coming years. I'll say a bit more about that later in the program. Many people don't realize how much of our income we generate ourselves at 1Berkshire. We really do have to run like a business to remain sustainable. Our major products are 1Berkshire.com and Berkshires.org, our websites, which get significant traffic and bring in a lot of revenue, but also our additional print and digital advertising opportunities and the work that comes in through programs like the Jobs Thing that allows us to keep our organizational capacity afloat and continue doing this work and reinvesting in it. The grants number, 435,000 and change. That's the money that we get from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to do visitor branding and marketing for the Berkshires. Optimistically, that number has slowly been increasing coming out of the pandemic. Our local delegation have been great advocates for that funding. The Baker administration, really finally got the message, I think, on the importance of investing in marketing our individual regions of the state. So not only in this fiscal year we're reporting on, but in the current fiscal year, those numbers are very healthy and position us well to continue to leverage our own resources with state resources and get more people here. I wanted to comment on a couple other exciting developments. Just kind of high level, but work that's really pertinent to the region. And in this case, work that's hugely collaborative. Our organization has really focused on the collaborative since the pandemic started. And fortunately, the groundwork for some of that was laid through efforts like the blueprint and even the merger process that brought 1Berkshire together. But in the last year or two, we've seen some real fruits bear from that work. And a couple of things I wanted to highlight were the release of a housing vision for the Berkshires. It was mentioned by both Danielle and Lori briefly, but this was really important work for us. This was a regionally collaborative initiative to address what we really do consider to be one of our two major crises in the Berkshires, along with workforce, and that's housing. We co-chaired a 2-year-long effort with Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, which included dozens of different stakeholders around the housing world, public, private, nonprofit, different levels and types of expertise. And we released a report in the beginning of the summer with over 60 different recommendations, many of which are already actively being worked on. And we continue to work with our state and local partners to engage more and more of those recommendations. Also, 1Berkshire was a major partner in the release of the rebooted Berkshire benchmarks. For those of you that aren't familiar with Berkshire benchmarks, it's a critical tool that's hosted by Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. In the nonprofit world, we are very data-driven people, whether it's the human service side or the economic development side. We can't do our work effectively if we're not sure how it's performing. And Berkshire Benchmarks is actually a regional tool that tracks data across a variety of different sectors with hundreds of different metrics and allows us to track month to month, year to year, year over year, how things are progressing or regressing. We're a supporter of that both financially and via staff capacity. And we encourage all of you in the room that haven't checked out Berkshire Benchmarks to log on to Berkshire Regional Planning site. It's a tremendous free resource for the region. And then the newest collaborative initiative that we've been involved with since the earlier parts of 2022 is the launch of Berkshire Funding Focus, which just happened in the past about 5 weeks. This was a partnership initially between 1Berkshire, the Berkshire United Way, Berkshire Taconic, the Berkshire the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, the nonprofit center of the Berkshires, lots of Berkshires, the Berkshire Black Economic Council, the Berk 12 Educational Initiative, and several other regional players to really create more capacity in an independent way so we can more strategically go after all these different funding opportunities that are being made with federal dollars and state dollars and even foundation dollars. The capacity to be as proactive with that as possible didn't necessarily exist, but the demand was there. So we felt that a new entity had to be created to do some of that, and that officially launched. So I would encourage all of you to go to berkshirefundingfocus.org and check that out. It's a resource that's free to all different stakeholders. The focus is on helping municipalities and school districts, along with small businesses and entrepreneurs and nonprofits. Next slide's an exciting one. Danielle let the cat out of the bag a little bit. This is kind of like our big announcement for today. We need something that splashes at every annual meeting. At least in our world, this is a splash because tourism and the impact that the visitor economy has on Berkshire County is bread and butter to 1Berkshire. This is a big part of our work. We have a tremendous team that plays a central role in this throughout Berkshire County. So the number you see on the top there is the total economic impact of tourism spending in the Berkshires in 2021. That's last year. It's not the year we're in. This data is always 10 months behind. We won't get the current years until next fall. But that $900 million number is significant for a few reasons. The first is the year before, which was the peak year of the pandemic, with the economy shut down, businesses not operating in a normal footprint, essentially our performing arts sector non-existent. That number dipped all the way down to 598 million. And if you look to 2019, this is the more intriguing figure. 2019 was the last fully operational year before the pandemic, and that number was 895 million. So we're actually excited this month to have learned that in 2021, the visitor economy has fully recovered to 2019 pre-pandemic numbers in terms of the dollars that are being spent here. We're not looking at that just with rose-colored glasses. It's a metric that we should be encouraged by. We are still operating with limitations in that sector and other sectors with regards to workforce, with regards to housing challenges, and really our ability to meet the demand of visitors that want to spend money in the region and natives that want to spend money in the region. But this is a sign that that demand is there. It's growing, it's diversifying, and we have a lot to be optimistic about when we release the numbers from the current year at next year's annual meeting. So I wanted to share that. Moving along to member services, just a couple of high-level things that are really important. In 2021, we decided that businesses have been through enough in terms of stress and pressure and pandemic ways of living. And we changed our membership levels to make it more accommodating for small businesses in particular, entrepreneurs. Our membership rates were lowered and different levels were created. And we're happy to report we currently have over 800 active members of 1Berkshire. So this has always been about the number of businesses that we can get into the organization. Yes, the dollars help us function, but we want volume. We want to represent as many businesses in the Berkshires as possible because that's what gives us credibility as an organization. We're also excited to report that just 5 months into this current membership cycle, which started on July 1st, we've already had 77% retention rate, which puts us on a really good path for next year. A couple updates on our social media. Using mainly Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and now TikTok, which is my personal favorite. 1Berkshire has over 80,000 social media followers. And I cite that just because we want to encourage our members, all of you in the room, to let us know what you're up to. What are your events? What are your programs? What's exciting at your business? And we can find ways to feature you on our social media. Member events. The posting of member events in 2022 substantially increased on our 1berkshire.com site and berkshires.org. We saw more members posting their events. It's a great way to get a lot of free press. It's a great way to just draw attention to what you're doing. So please reach out and let us know how we can help you with that. We had some comments from Lori about the Berkshire Leadership Program, and I want to just talk a little bit about that at the moment. So the Berkshire Leadership Program at this point is nearly 25 years old. We're approaching its 25th anniversary. It's exciting that there's some first-year alums sitting right in this room, still advocating for the program. This program actually was postponed for the first time in 2020 because of the pandemic. The pandemic hit its hardest moment about a week before we were actually going to launch the class. So it just all fell out. In 2020, we were able to do an abbreviated version of it with really a digital footprint. But in 2022, we did have a normal Berkshire Leadership Program with some new vibrant energy and 22 individuals that were willing and able to participate coming out of the pandemic. And we're looking forward to the 2023 class and getting this program back up to its typical numbers of 25 to 30 students per year. For those businesses out there that have young professionals, or you have professionals that have maybe recently relocated to the region, I can't think of a better program or a program that we're more proud of at 1Berkshire in terms of the value it has for the people that participate. So please consider it and pass that note along. So that's enough from me for now. And I'm going to actually invite our Director of Economic Development, Ben Lamb, up front.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the first time I had to stand in front of a crowd in a good long time. So if I shake or shudder, you know why. But my name is Ben Lamb, Director of Economic Development here at 1Berkshire. Just rounded the 4.5-year mark about a month and a half ago. So really excited to be here with y'all. I'm just going to jump right into it because in terms of a department, we're sort of a Swiss Army knife. So there's a lot of different pieces moving and cutting things in different directions. So we want to make sure we cover it all. This year has been a really exciting, high energy, high output year for a team of 2. Just added a 3rd person a month ago. So super excited about that. But in terms of programs and projects we've had going on, Everyone here has heard many times about the jobs thing. It's really maturing into a powerful tool for us. Launched it in 2018. That first year, sort of piloted it through. Obviously in the pandemic, some interesting times that we've had to deal with, but this year was an all-time record in FY22, and we're on track to beat that in FY23 already. So in terms of job postings, these are jobs that are paying well, helping employers find talent from both inside and outside Berkshire County to really help them meet the needs that they have to meet their market demand, because we know that's one of the major challenges that they've been faced with. Berkshire Youth Leadership Program. You heard a little about the Berkshire Leadership Program, talking about our youth now. This year, we relaunched the Berkshire Youth Leadership Program. We did take a one-year hiatus in FY21, specifically so that we could overhaul the program. We actually did do a virtual program in FY20, if you remember talking about that last year, and we realized that this is really a program that benefits from the students being together and that moment that they get to have every month. So we relaunched the program, had our highest application submission that we've seen in a decade. And we have 30 amazing students going through the program right now from all across Berkshire County. That's actually just from last month at the Clark Art Institute, all of our students hanging out together. Also in FY22, one of the most exciting sort of investment pieces that we were able to facilitate every year as the Regional Economic Development Organization for the Berkshires, 1Berkshire applies to the Commonwealth and receives an amount of funding from a pretty standardized formula. In FY22, however, there was a large projects funding piece that was made available, and we applied for everything that we thought we needed here in the region. And thanks to the Commonwealth, we were awarded over $600,000 of that funding to then directly implement into a variety of 9 different projects across the county. And that ranged everything from translating materials into Spanish and other languages, to doing micro grants for facade improvements, to doing more tactical strategic work around planning and helping organizations facilitate new needs. So that was really exciting for us to be able to directly input that into the economic vitality here in the region. And then the last piece here is working with our friends at Berkshire Regional Planning Commission through funding from the Economic Development Administration. In FY22, we were able to support over 70 businesses through a direct technical assistance program that we implemented, the Berkshire Economic Recovery Project. And that's been a really successful series of cohort-based technical assistance that we're still seeing a lot of benefit from. We just had a cohort this week start up. And so that's something that continues to be a vital piece of our programs. On to our direct small business support. In FY22, we conducted 200, probably a few more than that if you consider sort of more in passing consultations, but 200 consultations with businesses at all different scales and needs. When I say that, I mean that's everywhere from the person that thinks I maybe sort of kind of might want to start an underwater basket weaving company in the next 10 years, all the way up through some of our larger employers that just are trying to figure out how to navigate very specific targeted things, and everywhere in between. And one of the more exciting metrics for us is that 35% of those consultations self-identified as underrepresented populations in our community that are owning and operating these businesses. So it's really critical to us to make sure that we are supporting everybody and trying to be as inclusive and use our resources as best we can to support the broader business community. We hosted 74 events just on the economic development team side. And when we pulled that number up the other day, we sort of blew our own minds. Again, this ranges from small intimate affairs up to larger 100, 200 person collaborative workshops that we've done with some of our partners over the course of the year. But I think that that's a really incredible statement that there's an appetite and a need for the events and programming that we're putting on. And we're seeing folks, really come in through those programs and then moving into becoming members of 1Berkshire, moving into participating in Berkshire leadership programs. So those programs have really become an incredible feeder, both for us and then our partner agencies that we do a ton of referrals to. And last, but certainly not least, if you haven't heard about the Berkshire Blueprint 2.0, I don't know where you've been for the past 2.5 years, but it continues to be the scaffolding through which our work, especially on the economic development team, is structured. And so the great thing about the blueprint is that it is agile, it is evolving, it's a living document. We're not beholden to a really rigid structure that we can't work within and outside of. So all of our work really does feather with it in one way, shape, or form. And this is just a handful, again, of the Swiss Army knife collection of items that we've got going on. The Tech Impact Collaborative, for those of you who haven't heard about this project, it's a omni-generational collaborative program that we've been working with Berkshire Innovation Center and OSHA Lifelong Learning at Berkshire Community College now for over 2 years. And this puts on workshops, panel discussions. We've done a direct research strategic plan and assessment project that was funded with partnership from Greylock Federal Credit Union, Berkshire Bank, and National Grid. And we were able to really put together a strategic plan of what does the digital and tech-enabled economy of the Berkshires look like going forward. And thanks to that work, now in FY23, we're actually working with the Center on Rural Innovation to look at how do we apply for larger federal funding to actually execute on larger components of that strategic plan, which is on our website. So if you look at the website, you can find both our assessment and our strategy work for that. And so it's materialized from being just panels and workshops to actually being tactical work that we're really excited to be moving into. Our work with Berkshire Agricultural Ventures has expanded tenfold over the last couple of years. We have a really meaningful, deep relationship with them right now, really sinking into cold and freezer storage and value-added processing capacity in the region. And there's some exciting stuff ruminating there that hopefully come this time next year, we'll be able to share some really exciting updates. The housing vision for the Berkshires. Have we talked about housing yet? As you have heard now 3 times, I'm going to say it a 4th time. Housing being such a critical effort, it is directly blueprint aligned. In fact, it is probably one of our biggest cross-cutting issues that we see, and it's been something that we've been able to invest a ton of time and energy, thanks to our membership investing in us, thanks to our investors investing in us, and thanks to the state and federal government for supporting that work too. So we've really been able to commit a decent amount of our economic development time to that work. Outdoor recreation has officially been designated as our 6th economic cluster. If you remember the Berkshire Blueprint launch, we had 5 clusters that were in there. We've added outdoor recreation because truly during the pandemic, it became one of our biggest economic drivers, and it continues to see some of the biggest investment and growth capacity that we have across our economy in the region. So that's just an exciting update to note. And then this last piece is kind of a Morbius blob of stuff, but I just wanted to note, one of the exciting things for us now that we are several years into the Berkshire Blueprint is that we're seeing clusters not just focus within themselves, we're seeing them focus on how can they build relationships across borders. So a great example is that we're seeing new collaborative relationships through partners in the creative economy like Mass MoCA with our tech and innovation economy like the Berkshire Innovation Center, and how can they work not just passively together, but actually develop new integrated high impact programs and opportunities that are quite frankly going to change the economic vitality of this region for the better for the next generation. And we're seeing that happen both through facilitated ways, but also organically through what the Blueprint has produced. So I just wanted to note that that is an area that we are extremely excited and really sinking some of our brain cells into as we go forward into the new year. And hopefully, again, in FY23, we'll have some great updates on all that. So thank you all for your investment in us because it makes all of this possible.
Great job, Ben. And now Lindsay Schmidt, our Senior Vice President of Tourism and Marketing, is going to give an update on some visitor economy.
All right, well, that's a tough act to follow. Hopefully I'm up to the task. I just want to take a moment and take you all in. I know we've all said it, and also take in the folks that are sitting upstairs. If you're not aware, there's a whole nother room full of you upstairs. So thank you all so much for coming. It means a lot to all of us. I think for our first time convening to have so many people here supporting us. And again, I'll be a little emotional. I can't help it. The pandemic sort of made me a little bit more open to a lot of emotions and feeling around the work that we do for this region and how significant it is. So thank you again for coming. I'm just going to do a brief recap of what we've done in marketing this year and then sort of looking forward. So if you haven't heard, probably our biggest thing that we did this year was relaunch berkshires.org. It was a long time in coming, about 7 years we've been talking about doing it. Prior to the pandemic, we had great plans. We had, selected a vendor we were going to go with, and then the pandemic hit and that sort of disappeared. And as we were coming out of the pandemic, and to Jonathan's credit, we were all sort of looking, we need something positive. We need something that we can rally this county around. How do we brand this place again? And this tool really felt like a place that we could really sort of do some substantial work with. So big thank you goes out to Elizabeth, who is sitting here running this program for us today. She really took this and brought it across the finish line. It's an amazing tool. If you haven't been to berkshires.org recently, please go there. As with any website, continues to be a work in progress. But it was really a nice refresh for our brand. It really will strengthen our messaging going forward. At the same time we did this, we sort of said, okay, now we have this great tool. How do we make sure it's optimized as best as it possibly can be? So we did an SEO, a search engine optimization audit of the site, which sort of pointed some things out that we could be doing better, showed us some things that we were doing well, and also allowed us a chance on the marketing team to get some training around all of this so that going forward, not only with this site, but with the 1Berkshire site, we can make sure that both of those sites are as optimized in reaching the audience as efficiently as possible. Simultaneously, we did look at our search engine marketing campaigns, so Google ad campaigns, and wanted that just to be aligned with our SEO efforts. So the two of those things certainly are positioning us very nicely in terms of going forward and making sure our websites are as optimized as possible. It has seemed to be working because we have had great visitation to berkshires.org. We've seen about over 800,000 sessions this year to the website, with over 1,300,000 page views. That's up by about 100,000 sessions from last year, just to give you a point of reference. And hopefully just be continuing to grow that number. I would be remiss in not mentioning, you've heard about this BRPC, regional planning. But again, with the marketing team, you hear it a lot with the economic development team, but it was, exciting this year. We were actually able to write a grant with BRPC that was tourism recovery grant that allowed us to do the largest digital retargeting campaign we've ever been able to do in all the years that I've worked for this organization. And the nice thing about it was it used the berkshires.org as sort of the tool where we drove people to, but it actually allowed us to collaborate with between 20 and 30 different businesses across the county in sort of crafting the message. And out of that, and the focus for that was arts and culture, our downtowns, and outdoor recreation. And so I think, again, want to thank Laura and BRPC for their efforts in that. I really think it did make a really big difference, and it was sort of a nice way to launch the site into its being. So other things in regards to marketing, aside from the digital retargeting campaign, we did continue to do other branded digital social media campaigns. Two-prong, especially this FY22. I have so many years running around in my brain. FY22 was important for us to welcome back. I call them our legacy visitors. Some people might call them our older visitors, because they weren't necessarily coming in the amount that we were seeing younger people come during the pandemic. They weren't as comfortable, but this was a place they would call their summer home. And so it was really important for us to welcome them back. So our messaging with the social media was mostly on Facebook and Instagram, was in feed, and then we tried out Reels. In feed really worked to talk to that older demographic and tell them what was going on, where the Reels were much more exciting and interesting to the younger folks in terms of invigorating them to think about the Berkshires as a travel destination. And I have to admit that it's largely in part to state grants and other things, that we had an amazing year when it came to impressions around our digital branding. So we drove over 33 million impressions to our site because of these campaigns. That's up from 5 million the years prior. Again, remember that was really a pandemic year, so that's a low number, but still it's a pretty impressive number, I think. So certainly a great growth area for us. Public relations is something the whole team really thinks is important. And as you can see, it drove over 530 million impressions. I mean, you saw the 33 million above, this is well past that. So we will continue to invest in public relations. That number is about equivalent to what it was last year. But hopefully with things opening back up, we'll start to see journalists really willing to travel back to the Berkshires. We haven't hosted as many what we call familiarization tours. So hopefully they'll be coming back to do that. But again, this number here is basically only correlates to articles that we can, blogs, influencer posts, whatever it may be, that 1Berkshire can directly sort of point their finger at and say, hey, we were involved in that story. They came for a tour. They asked for a quote from someone. We gave them photographs. We gave them content. So with all of the efforts that you have done in your own PR, I'm sure this number is tenfold. And it's something that we'll continue to focus on as, year over year. And finally, what's new? So this is sort of the fun part when I get to convene my team and we sort of get to brainstorm and sort of look at what worked, what didn't work. What else do we want to do? And I'm lucky this year to have Elizabeth and I held down the fort for a long time as best we could, but we were able to add 3 new team members in the last 6 months, which has really been amazing, just in terms of new energy coming in, new thoughts, new ways of looking at programming that we already had in place and sort of saying, hey, have we thought about that? So a big shout out to my entire team, because I certainly do not do this on my own in a bubble at all. But one of the things that came out of our conversations was that we really need a renewed focus on promoting this region in the shoulder seasons. We do great. We all do great in the summer. We all do great in the fall. This is when so many of our venues are running and they're doing their own ad campaigns. Really, for us, in order to spend our branding dollars and flatten the curve and make this a year-round destination, it's really important for us to really be thoughtful about when we're spending our branding dollars and make sure that we're driving people here as a year-round destination, coming, in the winter, coming in the early spring. So, and it's something we have to, I think we always say, oh, we got to spend all this money in the summertime. So it's something that we have to come back to and sort of remind ourselves, hey, let's look bigger picture year round. So that, first and foremost, just the thinking is going to sort of craft how we move forward with things this year. But 2 other exciting things that I wanted to note were we just received a season extension grant that did come from the state level, but ran through the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism. It's $1 million grant. It's not all coming to the Berkshires, I'm afraid. We're doing it in conjunction with the 4 other regional tourism councils of Western Massachusetts. And the idea here is to talk about Western Massachusetts as a super region and why people should come here and spend more time. So again, going back to collaboration, this is just another way of showing it's sometimes the collaboration isn't just within Berkshire County, it extends further to, amplify the message in the work that we're doing. So that will probably kick off in January. We'll have 2 years to spend that funding. The focus there will be PR. And then also, because so many of us in Western Massachusetts have a variety of distilleries or breweries or craft beverages. And it's when you just take your own region and you tell that story, great. It's, you can keep people here for a short amount of time, but what if we did that and we did that by 5 different regions and sort of created Western Massachusetts a destination for people who are thinking about traveling like that. So those are sort of the initiatives that we're thinking of for that $1 million. The other grant that we received is $500,000 of ARPA funding. We now have about 4 years left to spend that. And this is sort of fun money because I have the Mott grant that we spend on more traditional programming. And this allows us to think a little outside of the box and say, hey, what's been in that bucket that we really would like to try, but we can't just do it because what's the funding source for it, right? So a few things that are coming out of that is re-engaging with the Canadian audience. As you can imagine, during COVID, we stopped talking to our international audience. So it's really time to welcome them back. Canadian and then further afield into the more international markets in the next year or so, just to let them know that we are a destination, come across the pond and visit the Berkshires. And then the other 2 things we're thinking about just within this year, again, we have 4 years to spend this, is starting a paid TikTok campaign, as Jonathan mentioned. Yes, we do have TikTok. If you are on it, please visit the Berkshires. We are doing a lot more work there to do organic posting, but this will actually put us in a place where we can be a little bit more pointed in terms of how we want to get the Berkshire message out in front of what audiences do we want to reach. And then lastly, just wanted to talk about an influencer campaign. This aligns really well with the public relations efforts that we're doing. But it's a little bit different because we can identify sort of more of the story that we want to create. And for us in the marketing department, I think it's getting in front of a much more diverse audience than we sort of have traditionally been in front of. So I think with that influencer campaign, it's really going to be focused on how do we create a message and how do we talk to a diverse traveler to make the Berkshires message resonate with everyone, and not just sort of our traditional visitor who's been coming to the region. So that's just a tidbit of what's going on. There's a lot of other activity going on. And again, but thank you to my marketing team. You guys make my job a whole lot easier. And I'm going to hand it back to Jonathan.
Thank you, Lindsay and Ben. They and their teams are really smart, very passionate, exceptionally good at what they do. And I've learned over the years that I'm at my best when I'm helping them find funding and then getting out of their way. So conscious of all that, we need to wrap this up. Appreciate you all hanging with us for about an hour now. A couple of last things just to kind of wrap up this report to the membership. Just looking ahead, two things I wanted to point to generally. The first is that, our focus looking to 2023 is really continuing to build upon a lot of this work that was highlighted tonight, or this afternoon rather. And collaboration really is the key operative word. So if you're not in some way already collaborating with or through 1Berkshire, come see us and we'll figure something out, because that's what it's all about. If we've learned one strong lesson through the last 3 years, it's that collaboration is our greatest strength in the Berkshires, and it's what we value the most at 1Berkshire. And the other piece is events, more of them. We're gonna have more events in 2023, more in-person events. Get people out and about, getting them comfortable socializing again, comfortable interacting in person. We're actually going to return our after hours series, formerly known as Chamber Nights or 1Berkshire Nights. We're going to come up with a new name. We're working on that. But in 2023, we plan to do those at least bi-monthly, and do 5 or 6 of those next year, moving around the county and giving some different people an opportunity to meet one another. And the bigger news on the event side is in 2023, we'll be bringing back Celebrate the Berkshires and the Trendsetter Awards, which we've not been able to do since 2019. It's actually 1Berkshire's biggest fundraiser, and it really had kind of taken on a life of its own as the biggest business showcase event of the year in the region. So look for that next fall, and look for lots of info about the Trendsetter Awards in the coming months, and think about what businesses are doing cool things that you can nominate. And with that, we've reached the end of our report to the membership. A couple of housekeeping things to finish up, and we can dock this ship. I'm conscious of the fact that I like that one, dock the ship. And I'm conscious of the fact that I'm the only thing standing between you and a first drink this evening. So our door prize, I wanted to again comment that our door prize was donated by Ashley Davidson of Thistle and Thorn, who I think is here, right there in the back. Thank you, Ashley. The winner today is Jess Provence from Barrington Stage, who I think is sitting right there. So congratulations. And Jess, you can see Kristen and Kathleen out front at some point, and they can help you out. Just a couple of last acknowledgements. Again, I want to thank you all for bearing with us for the past hour. This has been an exciting thing for us to put together, and this turnout is exceptionally humbling for us at 1Berkshire. I want to thank our team at 1Berkshire. Elizabeth, the work you did in the tech is tremendous, and a lot of work, and all of you for your different role in getting this together. I'd like to thank the Berkshire Innovation Center and Ben Sosny and his team for being so great to work with the last few weeks to get this together. And once again, I'd like to ask for a round of applause for them, along with our presenting sponsor, General Dynamics, and all of our sponsors. And on that note, please join us for reception. There's actually a bar located upstairs for those of you that are viewing upstairs, or you can come downstairs and vice versa. And there's a bar downstairs. So feel free to have some snacks, have some food, socialize, and once again, thank you, everybody.